Hey friends, welcome to this week's video. And it's been like 20 days since I've seen you guys last. I'm sorry. It's been freaking hectic at work. I've been trying to find some time to shoot something, so this is the reason why I'm dedicating myself to get this video out. It is a shorter review, hopefully. It's just on a simple card deck. But I did think I wanted to do this. There's a little bit of tech in here that I wanted to review, and I kind of went through a little bit of customer experience journey with the company that makes these, Card Mafia, and I wanted to share my thoughts and opinions. But the deck's super cool. If you guys never talked or seen Card Mafia cards, they are known for their fan mechanism, and they made a special version for Iron Man. So this is what we're gonna go over. I hope you're cool with that. This Iron Man deck by Card Mafia features their signature fan clasp. The use of laser engraved and cut pieces as well as hot foil is used to emulate the Mark 85 suit from Endgame. This deck has its own arc reactor LED panel and is rated at 100,000 open enclosures, which would equate to about 28 hours of battery life. Unfortunately, there's not a way to recharge the light, so once it's dead, it's dead. These tuck cases are hand assembled and are comprised of 20 components and 70 glue parts, which apparently takes about an hour to assemble each. Lastly, these are officially licensed by Disney and have their anti-theft holograms, which probably contributes to the high price tag of 50 bucks. The detailing on these cards are amazing. The tuck case feels hefty and looks more than simple cardboard. The laser cutting and foil really bring the aesthetic together, especially when you factor in Card Mafia's fan mechanism, which really fits well with the modular aspects of the various Iron Man suits that you see from the movies. Card Mafia has added a lot of small details in this deck, leaving almost no surface unattended to. There's hits of Avengers and Iron Man designs everywhere, even on the inside flaps, so there's little hints everywhere on this tuck case, which is nice. Opening the case will turn on the arc reactor, and closing it will initiate the shutoff. When opening the tuck case, the deck is also raised for retrieval, and it's quite nice for presentation. The case is held shut using a magnet at the top of the deck, and we'll revisit this mechanism later in this review. Moving on to the cards, they have a wonderfully intricate backing focused around the arc reactor. They are printed by MPC using the Linen Air Light M30 cardstock. This makes the cards super light with soft handling for flourishing in cardistry. The coating has a nice sheen to it, but it also makes it slick as f***. It makes the cards easy to slide for cardistry, but unless you are skilled in your control, your cards will literally fly everywhere. A little break-in and a little bit of friction on those surfaces may help with that, but also skilling up your cardistry, like I need to, will probably help a lot. The face cards are all various forms and shots of different armors and are drawn pretty well. However, I do think they missed an opportunity to theme this deck out more for us nerds. For each suit of cards, they could have focused on different armors from the movies. They do this to an extent with the War Machine armors for the hearts and a couple Hulkbuster armors for the spades, but the other suits don't really follow that sort of theming. They could have made the diamonds the Mark I suit, and the spades showing more iconic poses from the Endgame suits. But overall, I think the artwork works great for what they're trying to do. I just think that these are some ideas that they could have put in to really hit me in my geeky soul. In terms of the suits, the diamonds are diamonds. The upside down triangles are hearts. The triangles are clubs, and the triangles with tails on them are spades. They take a little bit to get a hold of, and to the newbie eye, they wouldn't be able to pick it up. So I wouldn't suggest these for your poker nights or your magic tricks where people need to remember a card. It's just not very straightforward. However, theme-wise, this all makes sense and follows along with the different arc reactors. In terms of additional cards, you get 2 Jokers adorned with Iron Man helmets with opposing color schemes, and an Avengers marked gaff card for any sort of additional things that you want to bring into your cardistry. So looking into these cards a little bit more deep, I want to actually try to play around with them while I'm on camera. I have no idea how this is gonna go, but I do like playing around with cards as sort of like my fidget spinner. It's a little bit less annoying, a little bit cooler, and it does also help with my dexterity, so that's the reason why I do that. I do a lot of the same sort of motions with computers and stuff like that. I'm trying to avoid getting carpal tunnel. I've had friends that have gotten that, so I started picking up cardistry to an extent to help prevent that. In no way am I professional, and in many times my cards kind of go everywhere, so then it becomes more of a distraction than a pleasantry. But for the purposes of this video, I think I can get away with it. So let's try. Anyway, as we talked about, these are nicely designed. They have a nice sheen to them, and they're super slick and good for cardistry because of that. I will say that some people don't like the fact that they're black-faced in terms of that, just because it is a little bit harder to read and a little bit harder to sort of discern a card, especially with these cards that have like really strange suiting. These probably wouldn't be good for your kind of like sleight of hand magic where you're trying to deduce what a card is and make someone remember it off top of brain. However, for card flourishing and cardistry, this is probably okay. This deck, again, is relatively easy to fan because of that slickness. I will just say that because of that design, while it is intricate and nice, it doesn't have anything in particular that makes it look particularly attractive when fanned. So you'll see other decks like the Verts decks, when you fan it, it has like a nice like geometric pattern. This is just, you know, it's just fanned. There's nothing special about the design. However, it does look nice. In terms of that slickness, it is pretty solid. Again, it makes it super easy to do like Pharaoh shuffles or any sort of waterfalls and things like that. But Pharaoh shuffling is relatively easy. You know, you can get an extended fan. That was crap, but you know, extended fan. The hardest part for me is just because I suck at cardistry, is like closing the fan because of the slickness. I tend to lose control a bit and you know, miss a card here and there. But I will say, like cards like the first deck from Chris Ramsey, as well as the Verts decks, the Virtuoso decks, those seem to be a little bit easier to handle than these. And I usually don't have those slip-ups despite those cards also being slick. I think these ones are just super slick in my opinion. But in terms of that, shuffling is relatively easy. Lost a few cards there, don't mind that. No one saw that, right? But I do think that even the card stock itself is relatively light. It makes it really easy to sort of waterfall things together and do those flourishes. I will say that this deck kind of buckled on me. I'm not sure if that's just because of the weather here. It's kind of humid, and even storing in a deck didn't prevent that. So this might not be part of the problem with this deck, but I don't know if you can hear that, but this deck buckled relatively quickly. It's been about a week and a half of me using this deck and just, you know, playing around with it. And I did start hearing and feeling that sort of divot in the cards, and that is not something that I would normally get with the deck of cards that I have, but just something I want to point out. But again, that kind of happens to a lot of decks eventually, especially if you're not in a cooler environment. So because it's hotter here in Boston now and it's humid, potentially I might have just got screwed out because I didn't have a cool place to store these, and these kind of got messed up that way. So the divoting may not be the actual performance and stock of these cards, it might just be more of the weather. But overall, I think these cards are great and I love the theme of it. But let's get back into the actual tuck case itself. So you might be asking, Volt, how long does the tuck case stay on? Well, it's supposed to shut off immediately when closed, but 2 out of the 3 decks that I ordered had issues with the power mechanism. I talked to Card Mafia and they were extremely responsive. They ran through a couple troubleshooting steps with me, but eventually told me to cut it apart. And if you know me, if you tell me to tear something apart and there's no repercussions, I sure as hell will. Tearing down this deck did make me appreciate the build quality and the small components to keep this tuck case together. Glue is mostly used as reinforcement in the build, but the fan mechanism is just a series of cardboard tabs and slots, which is simple but also impressive. So let me show you the rest of these guts as a result of this teardown. So let's look at the carnage that we've done and kind of understand how these cards work a little bit better. So we've deduced that there's really no mechanical or electrical pieces inside the arms. So they're really just there for aesthetics. There's nothing that's controlling that circuit that would light up this board. This circuit board is just a series of LEDs with some basic batteries. And there's nothing special about it outside the fact that it would need to complete a circuit to get lit. My hypothesis is obviously that metal contact that completes that circuit, but then how does this all work together to make sure that it doesn't turn on all the time? Again, this is probably where the flaw in this deck was occurring, but essentially what happens is when this is in a completed mode, it's in a little bit of a higher state, so that metal contact must be not being hit by the actual circuit board. So if you see here on the actual deck that works, when it's closed, you can actually see the Avengers logo kind of in between there, and the circuit board rides a little bit higher on the deck. However, when you see later when things close, that actually falls down and falls flush with the actual deck, and then that contact is probably made. And then the reason why that whole thing falls down is so that the deck can pop up itself, the actual cards themselves. So let me kind of show you that by flipping the camera around. So let's check it. Alright, so here's the deck of cards. This is the working deck, because the other two are broken. But essentially you can see there's a little gap here where this actual circuit board is riding a little bit higher while the deck is closed. As I slowly open it, you can see that it will lower, and once it reaches the bottom of its holder, where you can't see the Avengers anymore, the whole circuit board lights up, cards are raised. So that whole sort of unit works that way. So that metal contact definitely is what's completing the circuit and allowing these things to light up. So I'm guessing that's the reason why my other cards didn't end up working. So there's probably just a slight misalignment or something like that. They definitely lit up, they just never shut off when they were closed. So I guess it could not recognize that, or I guess the situation and the placement didn't fully get detached from that metal contact, so it always thought that it was supposed to be on. So unfortunately, two of my decks are that way, but I got one that works, and hopefully they'll send me replacements. But yeah, let's wrap this up. So I quite like these deck of cards. They are hitting me in the geeky feels appropriately, and I think that the tuck case is extremely well built and has a lot of nice features to it that make it a nice conversation piece. Again, the biggest thing here will be price. It is a $50 tuck case with a deck of theme cards, and that might be prohibitive to some people. So I totally get that. It's not for everyone, and I think that is something to be considerate of. Again, if you're trying to just use this as regular playing cards for poker, the suits are a little bit more nuanced, so I wouldn't recommend for that. However, if you're into cardistry and, you know, tricking with your cards, I think these will be fine, especially how slick they are. Obviously, if you are new, they may be hard to handle, but if you are more, once you get more experience, or if you are more experienced, you probably have the handles already to deal with a card that is this slick. My only thing that I would say is that this sort of backing, while it is nice, it doesn't really do anything when you fan it. So there's nothing in terms of flourishing that helps with the aesthetics of your cardistry. So that is something to consider as well. But if you are looking for an Iron Man themed deck and you're willing to pay that cost for that tuck case and have that conversation piece, I think this is a good option for you. If you are into what you're seeing here, Card Mafia also does do releases periodically. However, they sell out relatively quickly. So they've had Sword, they've had Shield. I think this Iron Man one is the third iteration. They all sold out pretty quick, but they do have other Avenger cards coming. So you probably won't be able to get this Iron Man deck because it is sold out. However, if you stick up with Card Mafia, they will be releasing other decks in the future, and hopefully, you know, we'll get a Black Panther one or any other Marvel character that you like, but hopefully we'll get those soon and you'll be able to pick them up. Anyway, I hope you like this review. I know it wasn't purely tech, but we're slowly getting there. I do have an initiative that you guys will see shortly. I'll post a short just to show you what's on my table right now. But you'll probably also see another review coming out around clothing, just something that I got in the mail. Just a quick review on that one as well. But again, thank you guys for being patient with me. I know I have been on hiatuses here and there. Hopefully this gets better with work slowing down in July, but who knows? But I will try to do my best to try to keep engaged with you guys. I do really appreciate that you guys are continually subscribing. Like, I was gone for 20 days, but I still somehow got 30 subscribers. I really appreciate that you guys are liking the videos and that you're engaging, and that's something that's really cool for me to contact with you guys even when I'm not posting videos. So keep doing that. Again, if you're new here, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, doing all the things you normally do on a video that you like and love. And if you're coming back or you're returning, thank you so much for your support, and continue giving me input on how to improve these videos and what content you'd like to see, so I can help me drive the content of this channel. Anyways, as always guys, appreciate you.